Hi, my name is Christy Spangler, and I'm talking about the career profile for a licensed mental health counselor. The company I chose is the Peninsula Psychological Center, which is located in Bremerton, Washington, which is only 20 or 25 minutes from my home. They also have a few other locations in the near area, which I could also choose from. I have a friend named Denise who works for this company and has for a while now. So I interviewed her for this particular profile to get an understanding of what it's like to work for this company and what her job is like. It is a group psychological center, this particular company, which means they hire people who want to do their own private practice, but they provide a few services for these private practices, so they don't have to do all of the work themselves. It's a larger organization that provides these services for psychologists, mental health counselors, social workers, and marriage and family therapists. Because they're private practice, they set their own hours, but the company does encourage them to have a steady workload. Denise works 3 days a week. 2 of those days she has 8 clients, and 1 of those days she has 6 clients, which she does prefer because of the emotional stress. It's much easier to work with a shorter workload. She prefers not to work over 30 hours because that achieves her personal financial goals. Though she works independently, the company pays for her workspace, office staff, and they submit her billing and insurance paperwork. They take 45% of her income to pay for what they provide, which is pretty steep, but for her it's worth it because she does not have to rely on her own income to survive because her husband works as well. Typical stressors include dealing with secondary trauma and other serious issues such as a crisis. That is her biggest stressor. Her secondary stressor that she comes across is doing proper documentation when making a diagnosis, dealing with a crisis, and making sure that everything is documented properly, especially if they have to deal with a high-profile case and have to deal with litigation or several lawyers going over every detail of the documents recorded. Typical benefits. The common benefits for this company is very slim. They don't offer medical insurance of any capacity. They don't offer a 401k plan. The only things that they provide are paying for your space, the office staff, and billing submission, though you do still have to submit your bills to the psychological center and then they submit that to the insurance. But because this is private practice, it should be anticipated that you are doing the bulk of the work yourself. The common tasks include meeting with clients at your appointments, submitting your documentation or recording your documentation for their files, and submitting billing to their insurance companies if you're doing so. Educational requirements. Denise received a bachelor's degree in human services and a master's in science and mental health counseling, which you said is pretty ideal for this particular field. If you are doing social work, then to have an emphasis more specifically in social work, which they typically recommend right from the start. Starting salary, I couldn't find for this particular company, but for this job, is right around $46,452, and an experienced salary starts around $60,924 in the Bremerton area, which I'm searching. Miscellaneous career information. It's important to know when going into this field to be aware of triggers that can affect you with clients. For example, Denise shared how one of her triggers is when a client plays the victim or a blaming role in her meetings. This is a challenge for her because that's how her mom behaved when raising her children. And Denise is aware that if a client persists in playing the victim or blaming for all of the challenges in their lives and don't learn how to work through their problems, it becomes emotional for Denise, and she chooses to either recommend them to someone else or have them take a break and see if they can figure out how to work through those struggles. This is how Denise sets and knows her own limitations. But she says it's very important to be aware of what your triggers are when you go into this field. I used a Google search for searching for the salary, which was hard to find. And I used the kitsupcounselor.com website to learn about this particular company and who they tend to hire. And then Denise Merrill was very helpful for me in doing my research for this, and she was very grateful for all those who helped her in her particular field when she was going to school, and is happy to share her knowledge and insight for others as well. That is my research for a licensed mental health counselor.